All right, everybody. It looks like we are live today. Thank you, everybody who's eventually going to show up to this virtual town hall episode. I believe this is number 8. On today, we have School Superintendent Alvin Wilbanks of Gwinnett County. Please, everybody, welcome our guests. Thank you, Mr. Wilbanks, for coming on board and doing this with us. My name is Jalen Pettis. I'm the Vice President of UD.
Glad to be with you.
Thank you, sir. Oh, I guess Akil, you weren't ready.
One second. Yeah, we're good.
Oh, do I need to restart?
Yeah, restart.
Sorry about that. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody who's going to show up and come out to watch this event. This is UD episode number 8. We have on with us today School Superintendent Alvin Wilbanks. Mr. Wilbanks, thank you for coming on board with us today.
Thank you.
My name is Jalen Pettis. I'm the Vice President of UD.
My name is Akil Taraga. I'm the co-founder and president of Unity University.
And obviously, I believe all of you already know our esteemed guests. Again, GCPS Superintendent Alvin Wilbanks. He's been serving the county since March of 1996. He's been in leadership for a very long time in this county. Extensive leadership capabilities. He's been tapped by 3 Georgia governors and the Department of Education multiple times to come up with tentative plans on how to work education. He's obviously the school superintendent of one of the most excellent school systems in the country, not in just the state of Georgia, in the entire country. And we really thank you, sir, for having you on board. Without further ado, we're just going to jump right down into things, if you guys don't mind. We want to first start off with just a quick discussion of the plan that has been implemented over the past couple of days for us going back to school. Obviously, just for clarification's sake, Gwinnett County will be planning on staggering when students are able to come back to school, where they're trying to have all students back in school if it's possible by September 9th. So Akil, that brings us to our first question.
Yes, sir. And so how will Gwinnett ensure the safety of students, teachers, and staff when sent back to school in person?
First of all, we are very much concerned with not only our students, but our staff and even visitors' health. And we'll do everything we can, everything possible to ensure that the facilities are clean, sanitized throughout the day, throughout the week. We certainly will ask for people to provide personal responsibilities by wearing a mask, also by social distancing. That will obviously be something that's most on our mind, and we'll probably have to do reminders of social distancing and maybe even masks, but we're committed to doing that. Actually, if you look at the areas in the country where they have reduced the spread, it's been primarily because of the things that we know to do, and that's wear a mask, social distance, wash your hands, and avoid crowds. And that's what we will continue to try to do with our people. We also will ask that our teachers will be working with students to social distance as much as possible. That'll be a little more challenging with kindergartners and maybe first graders, but we think that can be done. The rooms will be set up to where we have distances between students as much as possible. We do not obviously say that we can maintain social distancing everywhere, but wherever we can, we will certainly do that. We will try to make hallways. Some will be one way, and remind everybody to stay a distance behind when you're going through the hall, and use a lot of lines. We see some pictures every now and then of just class changes where it is very congested, and we will do everything we can to avoid those congestion points.
So I guess one thing that comes up with social distancing, obviously we know that we have some teachers who are going back to school, but we also have some that are going on unpaid leave at the same time. So what will happen to those students who were supposed to be in those classes where teachers went on unpaid leave? And how will that affect social distancing? Because obviously you have to be put somewhere. I would assume it would be in another teacher's class, but wouldn't that already add on to the workload and the class load that the teacher would have to deal with?
The same process that we use in regular times will be in place, in that we have substitute teachers that we will bring in. And we have a number of substitute teachers who are very well versed, not only in the operations of the school, but in the subject matter area. So when someone has to be out, we certainly will replace them with a substitute.
Well,
So,
sorry.
yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that also brings us to another question. So one of the teachers that basically sent us a question, she was like, Parkview only has 5 trained subs. So who will sub when those are all used?
Well, whenever all the subs are used, all the subs are used, and we certainly will look at increasing our number of subs. I think we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 substitute teachers. And we, even in times when there's not a pandemic, times of high influenza in our schools, we sub pools do run short. But we certainly are committed to providing a qualified teacher every day in the classroom for our students. In some rare cases, we can't always get someone with the subject matter knowledge, but they can, most everybody that we would have as a sub can certainly carry out a teacher's plan for a day or two.
Okay, so if I'm correct, you said that there were 3,000 subs across Gwinnett County?
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 subs, yes.
Okay, so well, I personally, me and Jalen, we go to Parkview, and this information says that there are only 5 trained subs. So what initiatives are you going to be implementing to basically bring more subs, well, to Parkview? So basically, if these 5 people are already taking a teacher's position because she's on leave or whatnot, what's going to happen with all those other teachers who can't make it?
Well, I'm not sure where the number 5 come from, if that came from Parkview or not. We do have some subs that really like to restrict their sub into schools around their home where they don't have to drive so far. So I don't know if that's the case, but we do know that our number of subs on a general day are certainly more than ample, and certainly it's been very few times where we have a high rate of infection from influenza or whatever that subs become very scarce. And we think we'll have enough this time.
Perfect. So that resolves that. So.
I just wanted to keep within the topic of social distancing. Obviously, the next question that goes with that is transportation. Obviously, we've got to get kids to and from school. And most kids in Gwinnett County do use the bus system to travel from home to school. So the question there is, or really just to give some context, we already know that there was a shortage of bus drivers before we even were in this mess. I mean, I think going back as far as elementary school, I've been seeing the signs of we need more bus drivers. I mean, even in high schools, we were sitting 3 to a seat, some of us on those packed hot buses, trading bodily fluids, sitting in very close proximity. So how is busing going to work under this new plan? And how will we observe these social distancing protocols, if it's even possible, on these buses?
A very good question, and that's going to be one of our more difficult areas to provide recommended social distancing in. As you know, if we were to social distance on a bus, depending on the size of the bus, we could only haul 5 or 7 students. We transport 137,000 students every day, so we'd be transporting all day. So we are going to have to load our buses. We will probably try to smooth some of the routes that are extremely crowded. But there's no way we can social distance on the bus. We will require a mask. We will require that the buses be clean. And we will, the ride to and from school, generally 30 minutes is generally the most. That's the length of time that they're on the bus. But that's a critical area for us. Now, when I gave the 137,000, that's when everybody is back in school. We know that there will be a number of students, and we don't know the exact percent, but our survey said that about 55% of our parents chose in-school instructions. So that would mean a little bit over half of our students would be riding the bus. And so we will have fewer riders. And in addition, I think a lot of parents probably will choose to carry their kids to school during this time as well. But we do not see any possibility where we can always guarantee that on the bus, students will be 6 foot apart. It's just not possible to do that. But we are going to ask that they have a mask when they ride the bus.
Just to reference a point that you actually just brought up, with most, a lot of parents most likely taking the initiative to take their children to school. Already in a regular system, I can just tell you, I can reference Parkview specifically, the traffic is atrocious because we only have 2 ways that you can or 3 ways that you can actually get to the school, and they're all very small lane roads. And with traffic already, it's very easy to be late. If there is going to be an increased number of parents taking their kids to school to try and minimize contact with other students, how will the late policy work?
That's a good question, but it certainly is one that, again, I think the tremendous traffic that is around schools, when we have maybe a little less than half of our students on digital learning, we think that it won't be any worse, could be even better. Even with it being a little better, it's not good, but we do not see, and I don't know that every school will follow those same numbers, but that's an average number that we're looking at. About maybe 45% of our students will be on digital and 55% in school. So ever how that falls out in terms of transportation, I really don't think it will be any worse. I won't say it will be better.
So Jalen hit on a few points. He said busing, and you also said it was a very difficult matter, especially with the busing situation, and obviously a very difficult matter with the transportation. So that brings me to my next question. What is the #1 driving force that made you open up in-person instruction when there is so much that hasn't been figured out yet down the road?
Well, first of all, we do not see the coronavirus pandemic going away anytime soon, okay? And what we all know, and I think most people would agree upon, we do need to get students back in school. We know that with digital learning, at least 1/3 of our students thrive and do well with digital learning. Another 1/3 maybe will make it okay, but perhaps the last 1/3 really struggle with digital learning, and we are trying to beef that up as well, but we will certainly be making sure that all of our students have access to the internet. I think we are installing somewhere in the neighborhood of 18,500 hotspots that should put every student with access to reliable internet. And thanks to a working group that included school system and community members. There were somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000 plus T-Mobile and AT&T have stepped up. And those hotspots are being delivered as we speak. And probably by the end of, before school starts next week, they will all be delivered. 18,500 of them.
So it sounds like one of the driving points, sorry, Gil. It sounds like one of the driving points behind the decision to go back or try and open in-schooling or in-person schooling, excuse me, pretty quickly is to make sure that we can serve those students who might not be successful or as successful as they could be on a digital platform. Am I correct in saying that?
You are correct, yes.
Okay, so just another follow-up question going along with that. Obviously, we know that when this happens, as we've already clarified, there will be some students that are at home digitally learning, and there are some students that will be in person. So that brings us to the next question of the experience for students that will have to go back, where teachers are having to deal with a double load of kids. How is that going to work?
Well, as you know, we had 5 additional days of pre-planning this time for our teachers. And that was one of the things that they really focused on was staff development and the best practices for digital learning, and working out how we would change or make schedules to accommodate the scenario that you just described. We also know that we have teachers that have had a good bit of experience, quite frankly, in providing digital learning, and we think they will do a much better job this time. They've had more experience. We've been doing digital learning off and on for about 5 years, but that would only be 2 or 3 days at a time. And there's a huge difference between 2 or 3 days at a time and like we did last year at the end of school, 9 weeks of it. We're not sure how many weeks we'll have, but we plan to offer digital learning, certainly the first semester, and hopefully we'll be able to bring everybody back into the school at the first of 21, but if not, we will continue doing it for as long as we need to ensure that every student is getting a quality and effective education.
So based on what you're saying, I mean, I think everybody puts education first for a lot. I mean, for us to grow up and become ambitious, successful people, we need education. However, to an extent, and this is just me thinking out loud, does education really always outweigh health? And this is obviously a question that a lot of people disagree on, but so obviously you made it mandatory for teachers to come work again in the school, and they're exposed to, they have a risk of death and attracting corona and all that. And you're also opening up schools in about 3 weeks to basically send students back to school. And this just makes me ask, and we had one of these questions. If a student or a teacher attracts the coronavirus, will you be committed to attending their funeral?
Well, first of all, I think we need to be realistic about coronavirus. Now, I get a chart every day that indicates the number of people that catches a virus over the previous day, or less cases over the previous day. It also shows the number of deaths and the span percent. But I think when we really get right down to it, just take children. They are more than 5 times the number of children that suffer from just the regular virus, ages 5 to 17, than there are coronavirus. Most of those do not have serious effects with that. It doesn't mean it's nice to have. You don't want any virus. But I think we've overhyped the number of deaths. Not that one death is a serious issue, okay? I don't mean to minimize that. But you got to look at the numbers and the numbers of people. And I think when we look at and balance the risk that a student would take back in school with the risk that they're taking by not being in school, I think when you look at that, you can come up with a conclusion that after being out of school for the most part since March the 11th, most students need to be back in school. I would contend all students do, but certainly the students that really were behind when they no longer could go to school, they are not only have gotten further behind, they have perhaps regressed. So I think the need to get students back in school, if you balance that with the risk, far outweighs the risk of coronavirus.
So,
All
go ahead, Jalen.
Sorry. All due respect, I mean, it sounds like we're kind of treating this like the flu. I mean, obviously, we know the flu is a recurring thing, comes around every year, around the end of the year. The flu, however, they've developed vaccines for the flu relatively easily, which is why we don't see huge outbreaks as such as we're seeing right now, especially with the United States leading the entire world in case amounts. I think the other part that's missing with this as well is we have to understand that, I mean, according to the CDC data that you guys would have access to, around 40% of these cases are asymptomatic. So you don't even know that you have it. So, I mean, for our students that are in an at-risk group, maybe those who are asthmatic and who can't wear a mask because it restricts their airflow, if someone's coming around without a mask on who's asymptomatic, they don't know they have it. I mean, we're spreading it. It just seems like it. I would respectfully disagree that the risk is out. It just doesn't sound like a risk that I would be willing to take. I mean, obviously, you all have a different opinion on that, but we're really just trying to nail out how we're going to do this as safely as possible. And it almost kind of seems like an impossible situation. So let me just ask a question about the masks. Will masks be required or recommended?
Well, we're going to require masks unless a student has some respiratory problem where it would be detrimental to them to wear a mask. And then we would try to probably investigate some other ways in which could limit their exposure plus the exposure to others.
Okay. Okay. So let's just move. Let's move into lunch, or no, actually more like class changes. Obviously, we've seen up in Paulding County, we've seen obviously the picture that the student took of a class change occurring. We have to understand this. We are still teenagers. We're still kids. People don't really they're not really going to wear a mask. Come on, let's be brutally honest here. No one's seriously going to keep a mask on for 6 hours a day at school. It's annoying when you got to go out for 30 minutes and keep a mask on. The class change, obviously we know, especially with older schools, Parkview being one of those, especially I know anyone at Parkview knows G building, the hallways are very tight. Students are in very close proximity to each other. And if they don't have a mask on, we're kind of going to end up in that same situation where the risk is very great. So we're just trying to make sure that every single avenue has been explored, everything has been thought out so that we know and we're confident about how we're going back.
Let me assure you that we have been looking at this issue for a long time. However, I would turn the question around to you all. If you all have answers as how we can better do this, we'll be happy to listen to them. But I do think we have to realize that we aren't kingmakers. We cannot ask people to do things, and if they don't want to do it, or actually, I've had parents actually call me, my child will not wear a mask. Well, if there is a reason, a medical reason for some respiratory issue, then we would certainly try to work that out. But we're going to have to ask that everybody that's in the school wear a mask. Now, it may be a little uncomfortable, but that's the way it is. Short of that, what would you suggest? Would you just suggest that we don't have school in school for students, knowing that a number of students do not do well with digital learning? And also, I think I would check the numbers in which you all are talking about. Sure, the coronavirus is very serious for a lot of people, but the number of cases in the age group that we're going to be dealing with is far less than what a lot of people really think. I think as we look at the guidelines that CDC and other health organizations put out, we believe that by doing some things that we all know to do, I think you and I have responsibilities that we need to do, and that's wear a mask, wash our hands, avoid crowds, and social distance. You are right. Students don't always want to do that, but I think we have to ask that they rise up to the occasion, and we will try to have one-way hallways where possible. We'll try to vary the dismissal of classes to where that limits the number of students in the hallway. But there's not a perfect solution to this, and you can ask a lot of questions for which they probably aren't good answers.
And
but we'll have
obviously
to do the best we can.
Yeah, of course. And I have no doubt that you guys have a lot more experience than we do. I mean, we're 17 years old. We got the world to see. However, you said, well, what do we have? What can we suggest? I'm sorry for the background noise. That's why I'm talking a bit louder. But, what can we suggest, right? So I'm thinking right now, and I'm going to start with some background information. Sure. Right now, for us teenagers getting into college, especially rising seniors, is a great burden. It's a great deal. We've been closed since March. My SAT got canceled in March 14th, like Pi Day. Like, I went months without, basically going outside and doing anything. So basically, we were forced to think. We're supposed to be like, what can we do? How can we change the game? How can we make an impact? And there are beautiful organizations out there, Kovac Education, for example. They basically tutor for free. And not just that, there's always a compromise. It's not masks or no masks, for example. It's not about going to school or not. It's about how can we basically get common ground. And obviously, let me propose what I have to say. It's all about not basically putting a bunch of people in one place. It's about separating them. And now, obviously, okay, well, we are separating them with the digital learning part. Well, no, Kovac Education is actually working with Kumon. And I promise this is not a sponsorship or anything, but they're doing great things. And they're working with Kumon. They're working with all these other enrichment places, right? You can basically make channels for limited amount of students, especially from kindergarten through 5th grade, to basically go to a center and learn. Therefore, number one, the risk of getting corona is decreased. Number two, they're actually learning face-to-face. Number three, more people won't be really in danger. The risk is actually very lessened. So do you guys plan on making an initiative to basically, connect with these type of organizations and basically implement a whole nother structure of itself, of something basically that takes education, digital learning, in-person learning, and keeping it to a limit? So not 30 people in a classroom. No. And not basically combining classrooms when a teacher takes a leave. It's about how do we maximize learning, but also how do we make the most of our outside resources? That's what I have to say as a 17-year-old. Now, obviously, I don't know the deeper implications of what I just said. I don't know how it applies to basically what y'all do, but this is my take on it. I feel like there is a feasible way without basically putting these teachers in risk. And there's a teacher asking me, will you commit to attending their funeral if they die? And now, obviously, could this be blown out of proportion? Is Corona that bad? I think that's something everybody has to think about for themselves. I can say that it's a very bad health issue. I can be like, I take it very seriously. Other people may not. That's fine. But basically, saying that everybody, it's like, no, it's not okay. Like, it's been blown out of proportion. I don't think that's a good idea. And and so my question is, there is common ground. I feel like you could get common ground. Do you agree with me, disagree with me, any part of me? Or?
Sure. I think there's a common ground and a balance of everything I just mentioned. I think we're we're trying to balance the need for students to be in school against the risk of those students being in school, okay? And we're saying that perhaps the greater risk is them not being in school. And there are other areas where we would, look at the same thing. We certainly will utilize spaces in our schools to spread students out. We're thinking that we'll start back schools with much less students. As you know, I'm sure you've seen the phase-in plan that we put out on August 4th. Have you seen that?
Yes, sir. Right here, actually.
Right, good. So as you will see, we're bringing back students very slowly, quite frankly. Our first group of students will be our special ed students and our kindergarten students. It's very difficult for kindergartners to connect with a teacher digitally. So we're going to be looking to bring them back by appointment during those first 2 weeks and do some in-school work with them, as well as our special ed students. And then we will start bringing in students by grade level. And remember now, we will not have all our students coming back in school. We will continue digital learning. Those students that want to continue doing the work digitally, they will continue doing that. They certainly can choose to do that for the whole first semester.
And this,
Go ahead.
yeah, and this obviously comes down to another thing. Well, coming back to like, health concerns and, well, teachers didn't really sign up for this and whatnot. Are you willing to basically spend a day or spend days in different schools in the Gwinnett County area, basically working with them, saying that you stand for them and, like you're here with them? And I feel like a lot of teachers do want that. And like, are you gonna take any initiative to basically interact with them and basically, well, be with them?
I think we have a lot of staff that will be going in school. They do it on a daily basis. Time to time, I go in schools. That's not one of the frequent things that I do. I have time to do, but I certainly will. I'm not afraid to do that. I'm going in with my personal protection of a mask and social distancing and wash my hands or sanitize, whichever. I usually try to wash my hands with water rather than using the sanitized lotion. But I think there are all kinds of ways that we can do some things to really lessen the spread of the virus, and I think we're going to have to do that. I don't think we can be cooped up over the next 6 months.
I don't think any of us disagree with you on that. I think more than anything, all of us would love to go back to everything being normal. It'd be nice if we didn't even have to deal with this at all. I guess there's just a lot of frustration, especially within the community of teachers. The amount of teachers that we had reach out to us with questions, asking things, and most of these questions that we were asking, all of them have been voiced by teachers. We're basically acting as a voice for the teachers right about now. So there's kind of seemed like there's been a communication blip where they are not completely informed on things that are happening. They're kind of out here. I mean, especially from the content of the questions we've been getting, it sounds like they're just completely unaware of what's going on. So what will you do in the future to continue to improve transparency, to make sure our teachers are fully updated and aware with what's going on?
Well, Jalen, let me first of all say that if they don't have information, they have missed it. There's a lot of information out there. Every school, every single school has been working all summer on developing plans to bring staff as well as students back into the building safely, okay? And that's all the way from all kind of protocols. That when we bring students back, there's a protocol that if a student shows up for school with a fever, There's a protocol of how that will be handled. There's also a protocol that if they recognize somebody has, during a class period or something, says they're sick, there's a protocol to remove that student from class, carry them to the clinic, separate that from the regular clinic, and get in touch with the parents. Most every type of thing, and all of that has been gone over with teachers doing pre-planning. And there's a lot of detail. You might want to check with the school to really look at the detail that they have done. There's detail on cleaning. There's detail on all of the protocols that we have that we can think of that would pretty well arise from the case of a student or a staff member being sick or thinking they're sick or thinking they have coronavirus. So we've looked through all those. It's not that we have a plan, and it's not that we haven't put the plans out there, but the schools have the detail of those plans, and I think you might be surprised at how what in depth those plans really are and all of the situations that they cover.
So yes, and I do agree. There probably are very detailed plans laid out for teachers because it is their job. But why were teachers warned 4 days into their planning period that school reopening plans had changed for the 4th time in the past month? Because consistency is also very key. And I don't think it's the detailed plan that many teachers are concerned about. It's about how
The notification.
like the lack of notice. Exactly.
Well, first of all, I might ask in that question again. I'm not sure I heard you, your total question.
Okay. So why were teachers warned 4 days into their planning period that school reopening plans had changed for the 4th time in the past month?
Well, that is a very good question, and that's why you all asked and me questions. Does the situation with the coronavirus change?
Absolutely.
How often does it change?
I guess we're here pretty often.
Or do you know when it will stop changing?
No, we don't.
Do you know what next week will hold?
We don't.
And neither do we. We have to make sure that we make plans. And I contend if you're going to do something, you have to make a plan and you have to give a date. However, on every date, on every plan we have put out, we said this is subject to change based on condition, okay? So I think if you go back and read the plans, you will see that throughout. As a matter of fact, the document that you held up that showed the schedule for coming back, in bold print underneath, dates are subject to change depending on the coronavirus condition in Gwinnett County at that time. And I will assure you, any plan, any date that we give you is subject to change. Now, you can call that changing my mind or whatever. It's not changing my mind. It's the looking at the data, looking at what we have to do and what we plan to do and how we can go about doing that. You can't forget this fact. Every kid that's enrolled in Gwinnett County Public Schools need to be back in school. If the students are back in school, they need a teacher in the classroom. Now, the students that are going to go on digital learning, we have certain teachers that do that. But it's rather difficult to teach students without there being a teacher in the classroom. And I contend that we're trying to make our classrooms as safe as possibly can be. Now, does that mean that there won't be some people connect coronavirus? Absolutely. There will be. However, I think we have a risk. We know that if we continue to do the things that we think we have planned to do, we think the spread of this can be stopped. The first day when teachers reported back, there were, I think, 250 teachers that left. Now, you tell me, did they contact the coronavirus the first day they were at school?
No, I don't believe
I
so.
don't believe so. They brought it there. So what we have to do again is ask adults to be adults, protect yourself with a mask, with washing your hands, with distancing, with avoiding crowds. And I think if the protocols that are in place in our schools are probably much better than what people have in their own homes or in any meeting that they go to. We believe we have planned to keep our people as safe as is humanly possible, and we think that I stand by those plans. Now, the plan's not any good unless it's executed, okay? So our principals and our staff are prepared to do that. And I just hope our teachers, and I know they will, they will have plans that they will have to do as well. And I think they will do that and will do it freely.
Just to clarify, what is the protocol for when a student or a teacher or member of staff does get sick at a school?
Pardon?
I said, what is the protocol for when a teacher, a student, or a staff member does get sick at school, contracts the virus, I mean?
Okay, just as I answered before, if a student's in class, they will be, somebody will come get the student, carry them to the clinic. They'll do some checks with them, like temperature, that type of thing, and call their parents to come get them. Same thing, and if that student has been in close contact with some others, there will be some contact tracing. All that's part of the protocol that will be done, and I think the same thing will apply to students.
So coming back to, So coming back to, you said, so 260 teachers were basically contracted with the coronavirus. Maybe not on the first day, but they were. It's under, well, I looked into it and I think only 90 were quarantined. Is that true?
Pardon?
We're only 90 of the 260 teachers quarantined.
I'm not sure of that number, but that could be correct. Yes,
could be correct, right? And now, obviously, I know that there are about 11,382 teachers across Gwinnett County based on my research, and what 260 is like what 2%, but like at the end of the day, that's still a lot of people. And honestly, this actually comes back to, let's backtrack a little bit. The teachers, and you said that as the conditions change, your plan changes. And I think, okay, so why was there only one discussion with the teachers about a month ago when your plan has changed 4 times since then?
Repeat your last part of your question.
It's not with, it's more with the community. I believe you all had a round table with some other superintendents about a month ago, just about. Because if I'm not mistaken, this is maybe one of the first events where we're having something like this, where we can open up the floor. So will there be more events like this where you can answer questions from the community directly, or anything like that in the works?
We will be open to that, yes. And I think what people, we hope what people would do, we hope they will go to the website. We put a lot of our information on the website. Every piece of information that goes out to the community or to staff goes on the website. There are frequently asked questions that goes on the website, and there's a lot of information that can be gained by that. And a lot of it can be just reading the material and have faith that we're going to do what we say we're going to do.
I just wanted to ask, we're getting questions right now as well, so I'm just reading, kind of keeping updated with what is going on right now. We got a question about temperature checks, whether or not if that would even be feasible to do a temperature check for students coming to school. That way we can really maximize the safety of all people coming back to school. So would temperature checks be on maybe a list? Would you all consider doing something like that? Obviously, it's a large volume of students, but it could be possible.
There will be a thermometer in every room, and that can be something that will be looked at, whether they do it every student every day, whether they do modified checks.
Okay, and then
That's part of the school's protocol.
okay. There's another question as well. Obviously, we've been keeping up with what's been happening in Paulding County. Again, I'm going to reference that student who took a picture in the hallway, who originally was facing disciplinary action for, I guess, putting that on social media and exposing an issue. Will Gwinnett County do that? Will they be taking disciplinary action for students who take pictures or things like that?
Why don't we just restrict our question to what happens here in Gwinnett? I'm not sure what you're really talking about. I haven't seen what you're talking about. I have no idea what happened, or
I can fill you in. If you don't mind, I can fill you in. So what happened when Paulding County, obviously they went back to school before us, they went back this week. One student took a picture in the hallway during class change and showed many students in extremely close proximity, most not wearing masks, some wearing masks. And it was kind of an overall mess, to be honest, no disrespect to Paulding County. But that student who took that picture, they posted it on social media just to show what was happening. And that student then the next day faced disciplinary action from that administration in that Paulding County High School. So my question, what I'm asking is, would you all be doing something like that?
I'm not going to deal with hypothetical situations.
Okay. It's funny because it seems like the whole thing is a hypothetical situation, but okay.
There are certain parts of it is, Jalen.
Granted, that's true. So got another question. What would be the protocol if a teacher has to quarantine, let's say 3 times in a 4-month period due to being exposed?
What?
So what would be the protocol if a teacher has to quarantine, let's say 3 times in a 4-month period due to being exposed? This is a question that I'm reading from the chat.
I don't know exactly what the protocols were at, but there's a protocol for that.
Okay. Got another one that's asking the resources that you all use to come to the conclusion of the decision that you're making.
We first of all try to look at what the CDC says.
Okay.
We try to look at what the public health departments say, both the local as well as the state, and we also follow the guidance of the Georgia Department of Education.
I got another question that is. It says, why has GCPS denied teachers the option to safely teach from home when we have the most robust digital platform in e-class to do so?
As we look at digital learning, one of the things we learned last spring, there was a lot of inconsistency, beginning first of all with just the framework or when people start. What we want to do is make sure that our digital learning is of quality, and it has a structure to it where students at home have a certain time that they can expect certain things to happen, that there's certain times of the day when teachers can conference with students, those kinds of things. And we think that can best be done when they're in the school. We also know that many teachers really do a lot of collaboration in terms of their work, their teaching plans and whatever, and that is another way to ensure a lot of that happening.
So we're getting a lot of comments on basically some questions that weren't like directly answered. Are you willing to work alongside?
That were not what?
Directly answered.
Okay.
Yeah. And so will you be willing to basically come visit schools and basically be one of the teachers? Because basically what we hear is they didn't really have much of a say in what actually goes on right now in Gwinnett County, and it's a hard time for everybody. Will you be one of them and basically stand for them and basically, just be their hope, basically?
Could we look at the structure of what people are supposed to do?
Mhm.
Teacher is supposed to teach, right?
Yes, a teacher is not supposed to risk her life. Exactly.
Nobody's asking a teacher to risk their life, sir.
Okay.
Now, I come on this program to really try to provide information.
Of course.
And I don't really appreciate those kinds of comments. We can end it now if that's what you type of thing you want to do. I'm giving you my best answers. I'm giving you answers that show respect for everybody, students, teachers, parents. And you all are forgetting one thing, and I think everybody that is really having an issue with this thing, forgetting that number one, kids need to be back in school. Could we agree on that? Now, I would also say they need to be back in school when it's safe to do so. We think under the conditions that we're laying out, that can be very possible. Okay, so we're trying to get kids back in school, and there's always a risk when a parent puts their kid in a car to either drive them to school or let them drive to school. There'll be more people killed in a car going to school than there will be in coronavirus. Now, if you want to go that route, there are plenty of ways to play that. I think what you all need to do is Gwinnett County Public Schools is a very teacher-focused, student-focused organization. We always have been. We always will be. Because those two components, those two people really make up schools, okay? So therefore, we're trying to make sure that we're bringing those two together. We do it as best we can digitally, and for some, that's working great. It is not working great for others. And we need to bring the students back in school. We have a good plan. I'm sure you could find some issue with it, but probably you can find some issue with any plan. But let me tell you, it is a good plan. It is a plan that can work. It is a plan that will keep people safe. If they will do their part, everybody does their part on doing. I hate to keep repeating this, but it's the only things I know that will help us reduce the spread of the coronavirus. Wear a mask, social distance, avoid crowds, wash your hands often. And all of those will be available to any of our people in the school, okay? Now, I don't have any fear of going to a school, but that's not what my job is. And but it is a teacher's job to be in school, to be in a classroom, to be teaching. So any way you want to cut these things, we can always come up with these issues. And look, I'm not afraid to go to school. I've not missed a single day of work, not a single day. Okay,
sir.
I just want to just clarify this quickly before we move on. Don't want you to leave with an incorrect perception of us here. I mean, we're coming here.
I think you all are doing a good job. You just need to.
Just for 1 second, sir. Just let me just finish my statement. We're coming here. We're just voicing these frustrations that a lot of people are feeling right now. That's really what it kind of boils down to. So I mean, it. Yes, these statements sound yeah, but I mean it's because of this is how people are feeling right now. This is why we really decided to do this. We just wanted to clear everything up and make sure everybody was on the same page and knew what was going on. So if we say something or a statement that sounds anything in particular like that, just know it's not from a standpoint of disrespecting you. It's just from a standpoint of just revealing a frustration.
Sure, I understand it. I understand a lot of people are very frustrated now. Sometimes you can get the attitude that the whole world's bad. I think frustrated is probably the better word for it. And, I can understand everybody's concern, but I don't expect people to take my word for it. But these are the Center for Disease Control have come out in their guidelines, and they have said that students are at a greater risk. Look it up, read it, of not being in school than they are being in school and catching the coronavirus, and that become fatal.
Of course, as we have to worry about students falling behind, which is obviously nothing of what we don't want to do. That's the exact thing that we don't want to do, because then we have to come up with an entire recovery plan on how we're going to fix that. Just another quick question referencing testing. How will testing work, especially for those students who are doing it or on a digital platform? And when I say testing, I mean standardized testing.
That is being worked out. I'm not sure I'm the best one to answer that, but there will be assessments, and it may be that they have to come in for the assessments. As you know, the students that are in our virtual high school, they do come into the facility for assessments.
I did do virtual high school online. I did through the Georgia Virtual School. Our final was online. I just finished a sociology course about a month ago. So I guess students will, what you're saying is students who, if we have to continue this digitally, will have to come into the Gwinnett, what is it, the online campus to take the test, correct?
Oh, no, I did not. I did not say that. I said the students that are enrolled in the online campus, many of them come in to take their assessments. Now, there are ways that you can do assessments online, and I'm sure our people are working on that. Heretofore, we have chosen to do it by bringing them in.
Okay, so I guess those are for county assessments. How about for the state? Are you all working with the state or in the Georgia Board of Education to come up with a plan on how we're going to deal with standardized testing, especially what's the test that we take?
We do work with them on that, yes.
Okay. We are getting close to time. We're about to have about 5 minutes left. So we're just going to quickly run through everything to make sure we got everyone's questions out. So this plan, just to clarify, quick clarification, the plan to stagger the kids or the students back to school, it's tentative, correct? So the dates could change, correct? Just want to be completely clear.
Let me repeat again. Any date I give you, any decision that says we will do this and so at a certain time during this uncertain pandemic era that we're in is subject to change, yes.
Okay. Just to clear up anything. Obviously, my attitude did have a role in what I said. However, it's come to the point where, well, teachers are depending on us kids to basically get in contact with you. Yeah. And no matter, and this is how I, truly feel, and respectfully, like no matter what you say to have communicated with teachers, it just feels like there's a disconnect. And I once again asked the question, are you going to be taking any measures to effectively communicate with teachers, basically keep them updated every time it changes, right? Because like I think the community discussion y'all had was a month ago, and then it changed very many times. And then just basically right now, actually before anything, right now, I think we need a leader that stands with us. And, that's where the teachers are coming from. It's not about, it's his, your job as a superintendent. You're not supposed to come to schools and basically, check on us. I mean, you have other priorities. We understand that. But exactly, like you said, at an unpredictable, unprecedented time like this, we need you the most. And I think for you to also come and visit and basically just make sure everything's going okay, just checking in on the students that actually do come, I think that's going to go a long way, Mr. Wilbanks. So if you ever do consider that, if you are planning on doing that,
I will assure you that I communicate with teachers. I even communicated with three people that represent one of the protest groups. Okay, I'm always willing to talk with people, not in terms of a protest. You can't talk with a crowd, but I'm always willing. I meet with teachers several times a year, one teacher from every school. And we meet for 2 hours, and they can say, ask anything they want to say, except they can't, use personal names or whatever. But other than that, they can ask any question they want to ask. I've been doing that for 24 years, and there are many ways in which we communicate with teachers. We go online from the TV studio and talk with teachers from time to time. But I will assure you, we have communicated. Now, it takes two to communicate. You got to read, you got to listen, and you got to really want to be part of the solution. You can be part of the problem, or you can be part of the solution. And we hope that everybody, and I need to be the same thing. I need to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So do teachers. They need to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. We're not trying to make it hard on anybody. Our custodians have to sweep the floors. Our food service people have to cook the meals, serve them. Our administrators have to provide leadership and management for the schools. Our teachers are supposed to provide, and they do, and they do it well. We have the best teaching corps in the country. And it just so happens that right now there appears to be a lot of confusion. And sometimes I think people are confused because it's better for them to be confused, and that adds to the uncertainty. But I do think most of our teachers, the overwhelming majority of them, will be, as a matter of fact, on a survey, 82% of them said they would be reporting back to school. The other 28%, I believe, indicated that they would want to talk with somebody. And every one of those teachers, to my knowledge, have been talked to. And so we cannot conduct school without teachers. They're among our most, if not our most, they probably are without question the most important resource that we have. I fully understand that. And I think most people do too that know anything about school business.
I think it's just important for especially the teachers that are watching this, just to hear that message, just to hear that you're standing with them. I know we are pretty much at time. Do you have any closing comments, anything that you want to say to inspire us or set us straight or get us ready to go back?
I think you all are pretty straight, and I would say if you have any questions, go on our website or some of the material. I think you probably have some of the correspondence that's been sent out. I actually believe the correspondence that we sent out is clear, concise, and compelling.
All right, well, sir, we said we would keep you for an hour. I believe we did exactly that. We thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for choosing us to come on and do this with. Thanks for helping to educate everyone on what's going on in these uncertain times. We appreciate you for your time. On behalf of UD, we just like to thank you and thank Gwinnett County Public Schools for trying to stick with us and try and encourage solidarity and show us that you all are there for us. So we thank you for that, sir.
We're there. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.